Yeah, I mean, we live here. We've raised our family here. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
People text me all the time. I did a deal with them 4 years ago,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Wow, you text me back." I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna get invited to my client parties every year. Like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm here to help you forever.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I'm in the career, I guess I won't be selling real estate forever."
Who knows?
But maybe, yeah. I do love it.
Exactly.
Dino, what are you doing? Get out of my seat.
All right, what's going on, guys? And welcome to another episode of On the Move with Matt. Today I'm here with Ross Lehman, who is a mortgage loan officer with Integrity Home Mortgage. So thanks for coming on today.
Sure. Happy to be here.
And we are going to dive deep and learn all about why you got into this whole real estate world.
Can't wait to get into it.
So how did you get to Winchester? Are you from here? Did you move here?
So I'm not from here. I'm originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Moved down here in 2017. My wife is from here, and the rest of my family. So we originally lived up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I was in a different career at the time, and just felt it was the right time to make a change and make a move, and decided Winchester was the place that we were going to go, despite never thinking we would actually come down here.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's grown a lot since you moved here too, because it's exploding now.
It has, yeah. It's been really fun to actually see the growth in Winchester from like a small town, and to see the development happening, and being from a larger area, we were nervous about moving to a smaller place like Winchester, but it's actually been really fun to be a part of a vibrant, smaller town that is still growing too.
Right. So you said you had a previous career. What did you do before mortgage lending?
So before this, I was actually a registered nurse. I was a manager for a rehab floor in a long-term care facility, and so nursing was my previous life,
Right.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there any similarities from nursing to lending?
Actually, you'd be surprised at how much there is. Both being kind of high strung moments for people. When you're in the medical field, you're obviously not going to be around people that are very calm and relaxed. So there's going to be tense times of when you're in acute situations, and then kind of the same in this world as well. I mean, from the time they go under contract to purchase a house, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of high stress environments for people.
Right. Yeah. So you're a real estate investor as well, right?
I am. Yep.
So can you kind of walk us back? Like, did you start in real estate investing or did you go straight to lending? How did that play out?
Yeah, so I started in real estate investing while I was a registered nurse. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I got hooked and was like, hey, I really need to try this real estate investing thing. So while I was a nurse, ended up buying 2 more properties that I bought, lived in, fixed up while I lived there, and then moved on to the next one and rented out the previous houses. And so when I was ready, I was burnt out of nursing. And so when I was ready to make the next move, my history with real estate, and the power that I saw of growing additional income and some additional wealth, really made an impact into that next step into the mortgage lending world.
So I'm sure with buying all those houses, that probably helps you kind of put yourself in the seat of the buyer, because they first come into your office or you do a Zoom appointment for a pre-qual, and you know how they feel. They're probably really nervous. They don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So how does your experience help you walk them through that?
Yeah, I mean, both that we hit on as being a real estate investor, a home buyer, and a nurse all prepared me for that conversation. First off, as a nurse, I got used to educating people about new diagnoses that they had. And so really getting that one-on-one conversation of what are they thinking? What are they feeling? What questions might they have? Translating that to new home buyers in a brand new situation, not knowing what to expect, and really kind of focusing on what are their goals with the whole thing rather than what, what don't they know? Answer those questions, because a lot of times they don't know what they don't know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, and then being a first time home buyer, I remember my first house sitting at the closing table and thinking, what in the world just happened?
Yeah.
And, thinking a couple of years later, why did I even use the loan program that I did?
Right, yeah.
I had a great loan officer, but at the same time, I just remember it was such a blur that I couldn't even recall, why did I even get into the situation that I am?
Right, yeah.
So, yeah. And then the real estate investing side really helps me talk with people about the wealth growth that real estate can provide.
And are you still actively investing today? You have rental properties? Do you do flips? What do you do with that?
Both. So I do have rental properties. So I've got, I think 10 properties right now with about 18, 19 units. I think it's 19 units right now. And then do some flips on the side. So buy, renovate, and I really enjoy that part of it, because you get to take something that's kind of down in the dumps and turn it into something new and updated. And so I love the passion about both of those.
Yeah. And did you go to college, I assume?
I did go to college.
And
yes,
was that
twice?
Twice, okay.
Yes.
So was that for nursing or something else?
So the second time was for nursing. The first time was I got my bachelor's in fine art. So painting, drawing, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
When I was young and naive and thinking that I was going to become some sort of starving artist somewhere, which was fine while I was single, but not until I met my now wife.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't really feed a family, I guess.
No, I mean, it can. It just wasn't, it wasn't a direction that I wanted to go with it. I didn't want my art to be dependent on I didn't want my income to be dependent on my art.
Right.
So
yeah.
it just, for a lot of people, it can work. For me, I didn't want it to work. Right. So that's when, as soon as I was done my bachelor's, and I actually went right back to school for nursing and pursued a career in that for a year.
So how many years have you been a lender now?
So since 2017, I came down. So this would be 8-9 years at this point. Officially I started as an assistant and then became a loan officer in 2018 and have been growing my business since then.
And are you licensed in multiple states or just Virginia, West Virginia?
So the surrounding states were really important to me. So Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And then I am also licensed in Florida too. I've got family down there, but also get people that tend to move down there during the winter time. And
right, yeah.
So that's been one of the key ones for me to be able to utilize from time to time.
Okay. And are you getting a lot of investor clients that come to you and you're able to kind of use your experience with investing and help them to buy their first investment property? Yeah,
actually, I feel like one of my passions is for investors and investments. So I do get a lot of investor clients. I find one of the things that they really appreciate is someone that is walking through it with them and can give them guidance. Of course, I always tell them, upfront, hey, your situation, I may not fit into that exact situation every single time, but let me get you to someone who will. Sometimes it's going to be a commercial loan, or sometimes it's not going to be something that is best for me to do, but sometimes it is. And so I think people appreciate the candidness, openness, and also the ability for me to help get things set up, whether they want to buy 1 or 2 investment properties or they're looking to buy 20, 30 or more investment properties. There's different ways to approach it with that.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same in real estate too. Like if I had never bought a house before or sold a house, I'm not going to know like the stress and the anxiety and all that. So it helps me to help people because I've already been in their shoes before.
Right.
It's like if I went and coached football, but I've never played football before, how am I going to coach it?
Right.
So I'm sure that all your experiences have really helped you in that aspect.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that kind of shines through to my clientele. I believe I have more investors that come to me for that situation. And really, not that we need to talk a whole lot about rates and all that stuff, but that's just a small piece of it, especially when you're looking at the entirety of investing. There's so many ways to make money, so many goals to achieve that if you just, narrow it down just to the interest rate, you're really going to be missing out a whole lot in the end. It's better to have someone like, you or I that can help guide them
Right.
into those things as well.
Yeah, because I get questions all the time. They're like, I'll sit down with somebody, they want to buy a house, and then they say, I'm going to go rate shopping.
Mhm.
I'm going to talk to 10 lenders, see who can give me the best rate.
Mhm.
But they don't realize there's so many more aspects in it. Your lender has to be good. They need to check all the boxes to get you to closing.
Right.
Or, if you get the better rate, you don't get the rate if you don't close.
Right.
So I'm sure you get sick of people asking you, like, what are the rates and stuff like that. What else goes into it as far as what you offer from a local lender standpoint?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest thing is just time and attention. I mean, we've talked about it a couple times, but me sitting there at the closing table, not knowing what happened, if I didn't have a lender that I trusted on the other side of things, then it could have turned out in a bad situation. Luckily, I did in that situation. But I think too many times, people don't explain things. People don't understand why are we setting it up in the way that we are. Different things like what do you plan to do with the money that you have? Do you want to use it towards a down payment, or are there better ways to utilize it? Talking about ways to pursue the future. Is this your house that you're planning to stay in for 2-3 years and then turn it into an investment, or are you planning on selling it in the end? And then of course, through the process, I can't tell you how many times I get people that complain that they just don't hear from their lenders. Can you please help? This is falling through. I mean, I'm sure that you probably heard the same thing too.
Yeah.
But just giving the attention through the process to make sure not only are we giving competitive payments, but we're getting you to closing.
Right.
That's why, my close rate's over 99%.
Right, exactly.
Because if I talk to you and I've gotten all the details and I said you're good to go, you're good to go.
Right, yeah. And that's the number one complaint in real estate, I think, is my agent doesn't respond to me.
Yeah.
I kind of let people know, you might get sick of me.
Yeah.
Because even after we close, like, I'm still inviting you to client appreciation events, sending you a Christmas card, all that stuff. Like, I want to make sure that I'm in constant contact with my clients, and I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah. And that's one thing that, I've always appreciated about working with you, because there are sometimes that I hear people saying, with agents that I don't know, is like, I can never get a hold of them. I want to see a house and I haven't heard from them, or we're in the process and I don't know where we're at. So having someone like in your situation that is almost over communicative, because you need to make sure they know these things, is super important.
Right. And yeah, we're constantly reminding our clients, hey, don't forget about this, because if they've never done it before, they don't think about it.
Right.
Like, hey, if you sell your house, make sure your homeowner's insurance knows that you sold your house.
Yep.
So you're not continuing to get charged.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to call them.
Yeah. And I think that's another point that you had mentioned. What is some other things that we can offer? That is also having local people that I use and know and trust. And insurance is a big one of that. I have a guy that 9 times out of 10, my clients end up using him more than what they would if they were just shopping elsewhere where the lender didn't care. I've saved people upwards of $100 to $200 a month just in their insurance by choosing somebody who is local that I've made a connection with that can get the job done.
Right.
In fact, I even had one where it was falling through for insurance reasons. And because of the connection that I had with the insurance person, they were still able to get to closing and work with us with that.
Yeah.
So that's super important as well.
And I think a lot of people, when they're buying their first house, they've never done it before, they always tell me, I got to call my bank and see if I can get a loan.
Sure.
So if they were to work with you versus some big bank, I'm not going to name any banks, what are the benefits of that?
Yeah. Well, for most of that, I encourage you, give them a call at 7:00 and see what happens. And let's face it, real estate doesn't usually happen 9 to 5. The paperwork and all that stuff can, but deals are happening on the weekends. Deals are happening at night and in the mornings. And, you're going to see a house at noon and so are 5 other people, and you want to place an offer and it's a Saturday afternoon. who's the person that's going to be able to help get the letter, who's the person that's going to be able to help make the offer.
Right.
Call the listing agent and let them know what you've done on their side. So, I mean, I think that's what happens very few times when you go to either the bigger box lenders or, local banks. It's just what's the time attention to detail for those things.
Yeah, and I always appreciate when you call the other agent because I know if I'm on the listing side and a lender calls me and says, because I'm going to call them anyway, but if they call me first, then that's extra bonus points for them.
Sure.
Hey, I just want to let you know XYZ is very qualified, and that goes a long way.
Yeah. And I find, that can do a couple of things. I mean, first off, it can help get the person under contract. At least it gives your best foot forward to say,
Right.
hey, not just am I putting this in, but my lender on my team is reaching out as well. We're here to get this done. I find a lot of times the listing agent may have some questions or concerns in regards to the property getting lending, and they feel a lot more confident with that.
Right.
And I've also seen it with a connection there that, it can possibly keep the cost down too. Okay. And, part of your negotiations, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the negotiations is who's on the team of the people making an offer. And if the listing agent or the seller can trust the people who are part of the buyer's team, then that could go into part of the negotiations as well.
Right.
This episode is brought to you by, well, me. If you're looking at buying or selling in Virginia or West Virginia, I'm Matt Kilmer with eXp Realty, ready to help you with all your real estate needs. Whether it's finding the perfect home or selling your current one, I've got you covered. Reach out to me below and let's make a move. All right, back to the good stuff.
And you've been at Integrity your whole career, mortgage career.
Yeah.
Your third career now, whatever you're on. I can't keep track anymore.
Yep, exactly. The one that I'm staying in anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So how has Integrity made it easier for you with the resources, learning, all that stuff in your career?
Yeah, I've never thought about changing locations to a different lender. One of the reasons is because one of my passions is being local and Integrity is local. We have the majority of our underwriting team is here local to Winchester. I walk across the street to the building across the street to talk to my head of underwriting. I talk to my head of operations. In fact, the owner of the company's office is right beside mine. He and I just talked for 30 minutes this morning about different things.
Oh, wow.
So having someone that is invested in me as a company and having someone that also knows the business, like our owner and everybody part of our team is, their goal is to get the person to closing. That's what everybody's objective is.
Right.
And so for me to be able to just have that team behind me makes a huge difference in our ability to actually make sure that it's closed.
Yeah, and I can speak from like if I'm on the listing side, you can tell maybe, some lenders and stuff don't put that effort in, or their underwriting is somewhere else, and they're kind of just moving along at their own pace. But you have the whole team, the whole office,
Right.
Local, and you guys have a common goal to get everybody to close.
Right. It's been exciting to see because we originally started in Winchester. Is our first office that we've had.
Right.
We've expanded over time, but we've been really adamant about keeping that local feel despite growing. But the growth has brought more opportunities to be able to have lenders in different parts of the country, and to be able to provide other loan programs that we didn't before because of the size.
Right.
Ones that can benefit new homeowners, ones that can benefit investors, ones that can benefit maybe your self-employed borrowers. So it's been exciting to add those new programs in,
Right.
but still keep the smaller feel.
Right. And so what advice would you give to first-time buyers before they come visit you? What should they do? If they don't have any money in their savings account, is it time to buy a house? Or
Possibly, maybe. You should at least have a job because we got to have some sort of income.
Number one right there. Yeah.
Exactly. You will have to repay the loan, so we'll need some sort of job. But I don't think there's an exact time when you need to come see me. I think that it's okay if you're like, hey, we saw the house and we want to move forward today. I'd prefer if they come saying, hey, we're planning. So we want to see where are we at with the credit. This is where our income is. This is where, how much money we've saved up. And then from there, I can help guide them. Do we need to save more? Are we okay? Do we need to discuss what credit improvement might look like and benefit you? Are there other loan programs we could utilize if we make some adjustments? So it's helpful to have that conversation earlier rather than, if you see the perfect house and you're not ready to go.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, it is helpful to have some of your ducks in a row. We talked about income, have an idea of what purchase price you'd like to have an idea of, a location.
Right. Yeah.
While I don't do your job, I am familiar with the market, so I can know a little bit of does expectation meet reality when we sit and talk together.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know I can't speak for other agents, but I know for me, like, we have to get you pre-qualified, or you need to have proof of funds if you have cash before we go shopping.
Right.
Obviously, we have to have a buyer agreement in place and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So some people kind of want to, jump the gun, but we got to pull them back a little bit and go through all the steps.
Right. And that's to conserve, and that's really important because we want to make sure that we're conserving your time. The seller is exiting the home to see the house, so conserving their time. But most importantly, conserving the buyer's time. I mean, we don't want them going out and looking at all these different houses and getting, going in different direction than what they can approve. We want to make sure that what they're approved for fits the house that they then go and see.
Right. And I know you can get creative with people. So kind of back to when I was saying people will rate shop, it's all about the best rate.
Mm-hmm.
But you might tell people, hey, you're qualified for FHA loan. You're a veteran, you can go VA, but you can also go conventional because your income, everything looks great. So how do you kind of walk people through? Okay, you ask them, are you going to stay here 5 years, 10 years? Does all that stuff play into what loan types they get?
It definitely does. And that's where the first two questions I always ask is, what is your plans? Okay. How long do you plan to stay in this? And what's your timeline? All right. Are you, did your landlord give you a timeline where you've got to get out of the house in a month?
Right.
And so that changes things, it makes it more urgent. We need a plan for now.
Right.
And also, what's your goals? We talked about, because it will make a difference if they plan to be in the house for 2 to 4 years versus this is their forever home.
Right.
And how we set up what loan that they might be in, what might be beneficial. The other part too is what's the market doing and trying to educate them, are rates going up, are rates coming down? That'll factor what kind of loan type that we want to get them into. So really what I do is try to gather that information from the get-go and then start telling them about the different loan options that they have. And I try to be very intentional about telling people why they don't fit into some loan programs so that they're aware. And then why do they fit into other loan programs? And each person's going to be different with that.
And it's also good to be in contact with, like, you and I, the realtor and the lender are contacting each other, and you're giving me notes. Hey, I just pre-qualified this person. These are the options they have and all that stuff, because it's important.
Right.
Because people, you might be qualified for 100% financing loan, but you're also well qualified for conventional.
Right.
And, we're kind of coaching them, a conventional loan is very strong when you're writing an offer and stuff like that. So it helps that we're in constant contact to help them with that.
Right. And let's face it, there's a lot of misinformation out there too. It's not uncommon for me to get a phone call and say, hey, I want to buy a house, but I want to use this loan program. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And by the time that we've discussed it, it's like, okay, you just heard about this program either online or, someone's parent or something, and that works fine for them, but your situation is different.
Yeah.
And so, you mentioned about coming and, preparing ahead of time. Get to know a little bit about it, but also come open-minded and saying, okay, what might be the better option here rather than just coming in with a narrow-minded, I'm going to have this loan program.
Right.
Yeah.
And can you kind of talk a little bit about like the Virginia bond program and the West Virginia bond program and all that?
Sure. So the Virginia bond program, there's but obviously VHDA is the other name for it if you ever see that. And it is a supplemental loan program to your typical FHA conventional USDA loans. And what they do is they have a whole variety of different things with them. The biggest thing that they provide is either a grant for the down payment or a second loan for the down payment closing costs,
Right.
okay, associated with that. There are going to be income limits. There's going to be purchase price limits. So we have to make sure we're in those defined limits there and that we still qualify. But those can be great ways of helping to make up those differences with trying to get a first-time home buyer into a home. All right.
Right.
The West Virginia bond program is also fantastic. It does have, at least right now, lower rates than your traditional rates for it. And it also is a second loan on top of your USDA, FHA, conventional VA loans. And it actually has, it is geared to first-time home buyers, but you don't have to be a first-time home buyer to use it.
Right.
But for that one, it actually gives a second loan for up to $8,000 at a 2% interest rate over a 15-year repayment. And that can be used towards down payment or closing costs.
Right.
So it's a really great way to be able to help, bridge that gap. If you're going a conventional loan and you need 3 or 5% down, how can you still get additional money to be able to do that with a lower than market rate there?
Yeah, because that can be really helpful because, putting your down payment can be difficult for a lot of people.
Right.
And then, you might be paying your own closing costs, and whatever help you can get at a low rate would be great.
Exactly. And the nice thing is, for different loan programs, that interest rate can be based off of multiple factors, credit scores, your down payment. But this loan program, it just has, as long as you qualify, it just has one single interest rate. Right. So if you maybe have lower than standard credit, as long as you still qualify, your interest rate is not going to be affected by that. So that's a really nice thing to help make it a little bit more even across the board.
Right. And then people sit down with you and they don't qualify right there and then. Are you able to get them in the right direction to qualify down the road?
Yeah. And I think that's really important because a lot of people are scared to come because they think that they don't qualify.
Right. Yeah.
And so what's the saying? Ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know, so I'm just going to live in ignorance.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important because our goal is not to just say, hey, we want to help you buy a house now or see you later. It's like, no, we want to help you now. And if you can't right now, we want to help you get there.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that I've seen that with you as well. But basically, we sit down and say, what are the factors that's keeping you right now? And here's the plan. And not just here's the plan, but like we write it out and I send it to them so that they are also aware of what the plan is. And then follow up and just say, how's the plan going? Anything come up? Anything, hinder you from doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure that makes you guys feel good, when you get somebody from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year journey.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's cool to watch them, make that goal.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
I think that's one of the most rewarding things that I've been able to see the longer that I've been in this is, having people that are in this for 2-3 years that are recovering from something in their history. And, they're now getting to the point where they can buy or did buy, and just being able to help them achieve that has been really satisfying.
Yeah. I know it's really special for us to help first time buyers or, somebody that had something happen and then they were able to buy again.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I remind people, like if you rent, it's 100% interest. People complain about their rates.
Right.
Well, do you prefer 100% interest or, 7, 8, whatever it is at the time percent interest rate?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think it's always great to buy if you can.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's always there's a time and place for it. I mean, if you're in situations in which, you may be moving in a year or two, that, okay, maybe renting is your best thing. Or if you're in a lot of movements between jobs and all that stuff, there's a time and place to rent. But if you can get into a house and buy a house, really, that's how upwards of 80% of millionaires get there through real estate.
Right.
And while not every year is going to have appreciation to it, the good thing is there's only so much real estate. There's only so much land, and people always need to live somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not going away.
Right.
So there is a somewhat guarantee of a long-term appreciation. And I read the other day that for the last 40 years, so including the mortgage drop in 07, 08, but also the boom, that we've had recently, the last 40-year average is about 4.8% nationally of appreciation.
Right.
So the nice thing is that that's an appreciation on the entire value of your house, not just the money that you invested into your house.
Right. Exactly.
So that's a nice thing about real estate.
Yeah. People love to read the headlines. If it's on Facebook, it's true. If it's on Google, it's true. I mean, I just encourage people, kind of shove that away.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me, talk to you. We're boots on the ground. We know what's happening in this area.
Right.
Because a lot of that national stuff, we're a little pocket here.
Sure.
Every single market's different.
Yeah.
So it's better to talk to us.
And I think that's another thing about having a local real estate agent and a local lender is, look, for both the short term and the long term, we live in your area, meaning we've got to interact with you and people that likely. So we're not just a come, we're going to help you out and then we're gone. There's a certain responsibility of, making sure that we get something that's right for you in a loan program or in a house that's right for you, because we want to be your lifetime agent, your lifetime lender. We don't want to just be a one-time transaction agent and lender.
Yeah, I mean, we live here, we raise our family here. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
People text me all the time. I did a deal with them 4 years ago, and they're like, "Wow, he texted me back." I'm like, "Yeah, and you're gonna get invited to my client parties every year. Like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm here to help you forever."
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I'm in the career, I guess I won't be selling real estate forever.
Who knows?
But maybe, yeah. I do love it.
Exactly.
All right. So working at Integrity, you guys have a list of local appraisers you work with. How does that help your clients?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the appraisal process is super important to determine, the value of the property. Yeah. And so having appraisers that, one, will get it done quickly and on time, but also ones that will do it right. Okay. And that doesn't always mean coming in at the value that you need, but that means looking at the market that it's in and saying, does the value make sense for the market? So having appraisers that can determine, hey, different markets, even within Winchester or, Winchester, Frederick County in the greater area, it's important to know and understand those markets to help determine what is the value of this property.
Right. And what would you say your favorite part about living in Winchester is so far? You're not from here. You moved here, new career, kind of started a new life here. What's your favorite part?
I think probably my favorite part, well, there's a couple of things. So the first thing is the ability to get around without taking longer than 15, 20 minutes is really nice. But it is fun to be able to just go out and the majority of the time be able to see somebody that I know, especially if it's at a different event like Apple Blossom or something like that.
Right, yeah.
You walk around and you see people that you know.
Yeah.
So that's something that I thought would be kind of annoying when I was coming, is everybody knows everybody, but it's actually, I'm a people person. And it's been really fun to just see people out and about.
So in Lancaster, it wasn't like that. It takes a while to get to places.
It does. Lancaster is about 7 to 8 times size of Winchester.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it took me about 45 minutes to drive to work.
Yeah.
So getting to work in 10, 15 minutes is really nice.
Right. There you go. And it feels small here, but I mean, we're exploding quickly.
Right. Yeah.
And but you still get that small feeling, like especially you go to Costco, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go without seeing at least one person you know.
Right. Exactly. And especially as we grow in our clientele, it's nice to be able to see our clients out and about and enjoying life together.
Right, yeah. And it's nice when they post on Facebook. I know my clients will post like 2-year anniversary in my house, and it kind of helps me remember, like, oh yeah, like
Right.
2 years, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we appreciate you coming on today, and
Thanks for having me.
yeah. So hopefully we'll have you back on in the future. And
Would love to come.
cool. Thank you.
Thank you.